Good afternoon. Welcome to West Sector KAMR. I am Syed Tariq Anwar. I am a professor in the School of Business. A few details very quickly. American Marketing Association, some of you may not know, it has 30,000 plus members worldwide, and there are 300 collegiate chapters. We are also one of the chapters, and I made these special handouts, and you can read in that. This is an award-winning chapter, and in the last 2 years, looks like we have done very well. So we have been recognized by WT as well as from Chicago, because that's where the national chapter is. This kind of activity doesn't happen alone. I am just one person, but we have a lot of people who helped us every year. And let me read their names. They are right here. So basically, these residents is over there, Ethan and Wayne. And then we have VP Social Media, Brigham, Beecher, and then VP Membership, Colton McMahon, Fundraising, Kimberly Salerno, and then Michael Little, Alejandro Paccio, and then Jessica Roma. These are our members. And we also want you to know that Dr. King is over there, Robert King, and he's also our marketing faculty. Dr. Tulkan is over there. She's the founding member of this chapter, and she's the main chapter advisor. Under her guidance, this is what we see today. Let's see. So very briefly, let me share some data with you before I introduce you to my speakers. Within 4 days, you will have a Super Bowl. It's a very big activity. I collected some data for you. I hope you consider reading it. We don't have the time to waste on this data, but it's a very big event. NFL is already $14 billion. It's a very big organization, but Super Bowl itself is a phenomenon. That's why we selected the word phenomena. It's a very unique thing in the last many years happening, and I will let the speaker address this issue. But look at the food, and this is the data I have. The most favorite food on Super Bowl day: pizza, wings, nachos, guacamole, chili, popcorn, and chips. But if you look at Atlanta, Atlanta's main gross metro product already reaching $400 billion. And Super Bowl alone will contribute $400 million. So you have all kinds of data in this. A basic data which a layman can understand, but there is a technical data, and that's why I have these speakers. So our first speaker is Mr. Clint, okay? And let me, I don't want to make a mistake in his name, Brakebill. You have seen him on NBC and Fox. And then our second speaker is Michael McBroom, Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, and then Randall Whalin is Fairley Group, Chief Marketing Officer. Fairley Group is actually dealing with NFL. Michael McBroom's expertise comes from all the sports and exercise science, and he has a marketing degree. And Mr. Clint, he deals with this product almost every day. And that's why you watch him, and I'm very proud to say he's also one of our former students. And it looks good, and it also makes us look good. So please, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome a warm welcome to our...
I'm Brakebill, as he said, sports director at the NBC and the Fox station here in Amarillo. Yeah, I won't pretend to be an expert in marketing, but what I can do is just add perspective on kind of what I do, and maybe even if I'm not teaching you something, just kind of a different look at the way we deal with the Super Bowl and the way that the Super Bowl can affect us, especially when it's on our channel. And the way I've kind of always looked at the Super Bowl, and from a marketing standpoint especially, is how can we use the Super Bowl? We know millions of people are watching this. We know if you're going to watch it, you're going to watch it. If you're not going to watch it, you're not going to watch it. I'm not running stuff at night to be like, hey, you need to watch the Super Bowl because these two teams are in it or these players are there. How can I get you to relate the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 53, or last year when it's on NBC, how do I get you to associate the New England Patriots with me or with KAMR Local 4? And I think by doing that, we market ourselves by having local product. We're KAMR Local 4. We do that, they market ourselves in our name local for a reason, because we know you can go to ESPN and you're going to hear from Tom Brady. You're going to look at the media night and see all the stuff, the funny questions that were asked, the guy from Bleacher Report that shows up unannounced and asking Ndamukong Suh not to be mean to the quarterback. Those kind of things you can find other places. How we market ourselves through the Super Bowl is finding local aspects. And so when you tune in and you're like, hey, I want to learn something new about the Super Bowl, when you tune into us, I can market myself by being a local sports broadcaster by showing you how the Super Bowl pertains to our area. Last night, West Texas A&M graduate Ethan Westbrooks, he is on the Los Angeles Rams. So last night I found sound from Ethan Westbrooks during Media Day, and he actually spoke about, they asked him, are you nervous to play in the Super Bowl, your first one? And he said, the best way I can explain it is my first football game. He said he was playing the Green Bay Packers, couldn't sleep the night before, but when he stepped on the field for his first NFL game, he said it was like I was back at West Texas A&M. So I was like, aha, said something about West Texas A&M. People that watch us now are going to associate maybe Ethan Westbrooks with WT, with the Super Bowl, and in turn us. So that's a way that we're able to market ourselves a little bit for the local side of things. Is for me, the perspective of the Super Bowl, turn it into a perspective for us as well. So when you can associate one thing and you can maybe put Clint Brakebill or KAMR local 4 with the Super Bowl, then I think that you're marketing yourselves in the right way. Last year, same type of thing. Brian Brayman, West Texas A&M graduate. He was playing on the winning Philadelphia Eagles last year. Again, finding a way to localize something and push yourselves in that perspective. Then also, of course, for a sales side of things, it's a chance to market the Super Bowl and maybe package something together that includes the Super Bowl that you can get somebody to use all season, instead of just throwing the Super Bowl at them and saying, hey, this is what we're going to charge you to advertise for the Super Bowl. When you look at it, it's like, ooh, that's a lot. That's a Super Bowl. A lot of eyes are going to be on that, but it gives you the opportunity to set up a partnership for somebody all season long when they know at the end they're also going to be advertised on the Super Bowl, which I think is kind of an interesting way to look at that as well. Also, when I started at West Texas A&M in 2008, things have changed dramatically, right? In the past 10 years, for where when I started, a lot of this was for TV product. Now it's online. So how can you market the Super Bowl to go online? We have a lot of different things that we do online. I have to have online content for the Super Bowl each and every day. I also am now involved with the morning show, where they want something local for the morning show. So again, last night aired something for the morning show this morning with Ethan Westbrooks. Tomorrow night, finding ways, again, to localize something and market yourself that you care about the Super Bowl, because people are going to watch, but find it in a way that they come to you for content they can only get through you, is the way that we can help market ourselves. So a story tomorrow night is Rex Burkhead, running back for the New England Patriots. He went to Plano High School. One of his coaches, Paladuro's head football coach right now, Chris Fisher, and the relationship that those two still have. So I can market Rex Burkhead, even though he has nothing to do with Amarillo, Texas. You find a way to market the New England Patriots to then associate them with Amarillo, because you think Paladuro High School, Chris Fisher, he talks to Rex Burkhead on a regular basis. Rex Burkhead, if you don't know, scored the game-winning touchdown to send the Patriots to the Super Bowl. I asked Chris Fisher about that. He said, I talked to him immediately after the game. He got back to me. You can just see the joy on Chris Fisher's face that he knows Rex Burkhead, that he coached him in high school. And you localize and you humanize the players in the Super Bowl, and again, back to yourself. And I think that helps market us when you're coming to our station, because you're wanting Super Bowl content. People care. There's a reason that millions and millions of people watch. And, I think it's a way to market ourselves by using the Super Bowl to our advantage, instead of, we're going to get different perspectives on what the Super Bowl means in marketing. But for me and for us, it's a chance for people to see our content that would not otherwise watch it, because we know it's the most watched show all year long. So last year when it's on NBC, we came in, we shot brand new promos. All these things are airing for the very first time Super Bowl Sunday. So the people that aren't usually watching, because we do have those spots, sports with Clint Brakebill. There was one spot that ran during the Super Bowl. I got more texts than I think I ever have for anything that ran, because they're seeing you for the first time. So they're marketing myself, knowing that I will be here for a long time, that I've invested in the community. Market yourself that you're here, you're going to be here, and you care about the local aspect of a Super Bowl that millions of people watch. So I think, again, for me, the Super Bowl is a way to market yourself, because the Super Bowl at this point is almost self-marketed, right? People know what it is, they're associated with it, and find a way to, when they think about the Super Bowl, think about Clint Brakebill, think about NBC, think about Fox, not NBC at the national level, Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. Of course, that's the Super Bowl, right? Those are the two talking heads you're going to see, but relay it back to where, hey, I like the way that those guys did that broadcast after the game, or I like those promos. That Clint guy seems interesting. Marketing yourself through the Super Bowl, all those brand new eyes that have maybe never even heard my name or seen my face. Hey, he looks interesting. I kind of want to stick around for what happens with that. So the Super Bowl phenomenon is a huge thing. The Olympics was a saying, and I know we're just talking about the Super Bowl, but the Olympics was the same way. We ramped things up. The marketing strategies of putting our face out there more and more promotions and having things to go online for the Olympics, for the Super Bowl, having content that is ours and is original is a great way to market us and get new eyes on us that otherwise would not be there. And so that's kind of how I've always looked at marketing ourselves through the Super Bowl. We want to wait on questions. Do we have anything else?
Thanks a lot. Mr. Michael McBroom.
Hello. I'm Michael McBroom. I'm the Director of Athletics here. My perspective is going to be a little bit different. One, from the value of alumni playing in a game or working around the game that brings the university and the athletic department, but also I try and approach our athletics department with a little bit of a business mindset, because unlike a lot of departments on campus, we do a lot of the traditional things that outside or public businesses do. We do market. We're predicated on our revenue. We need revenue streams. We need to grow. Our human capital is critical to us. Those are our student athletes and coaches and things like that. And so from a business standpoint, I really watch the Super Bowl to try and learn and gain some understanding of what successful companies are doing to get the most bang for the buck. There's a lot of news out there and publicity for Super Bowl ads are $5 million or $4 million and what these companies are doing. And those, believe it or not, I mean, they do pay off or they wouldn't be doing it. But if you take somebody like Anheuser-Busch, I think they spend somewhere around $35 million a year on Super Bowl advertising. Okay, that's just for the game with all the things that they do. But if you think about that in the standpoint of Anheuser-Busch has, I think it's somewhere in the 45% range of the market share of beer sales in the United States, right? So 45% market share. And if $1 billion of beer is sold around the Super Bowl, which it is, 45% of $1 billion in sales is $450 million in revenue off of beer sales that goes to Anheuser-Busch. So if you think a $35 million investment pays off to generate $450 million, raise your hand. I think everybody in this room, if you could go give somebody right now $100 and you turn that into $4,500 or whatever it would be, then you would do that, right? So we can't spend $35 million, can't even spend $1 million, but what's been interesting for me to watch through the years, and my life kind of mirrors the Super Bowl a little bit. This is Super Bowl, what, L33, is that right? L53?
Yep.
The Roman numerals, L33. I'll celebrate my L birthday this Saturday. It kind of follows along a little bit. So I remember the first Super Bowl that I remember was, I think, 1977 Cowboys and Broncos, I believe, Craig Morton, Roger Staubach. But my business mind, my advertising mind will track with the ads and how people have gone through the years. And I think ads probably became really big in the 80s. I know Apple was a very big one. I think Randall touched on that. But some of us will mark Super Bowls by the coolness of the ads. The ads became a thing, okay? But then what's been neat for me to watch is how the people that can't afford the big ads have taken advantage of this huge cultural event, because that's what it is. It's a huge cultural event around a football game now. How people are now getting into this white space, for lack of a better term, where you can't do the ad, but you can do some things around the game, kind of like what Clint was talking about, that ties you in to that game in some fashion. Some companies will just do YouTube videos and post them out about the Super Bowl and try and get that buzz around their video, and will generate 20 or 30 million views off of those videos. It cost them the production of the ad, not the placement of the ad. You couldn't do that 20 years ago, right? But there's huge value for companies to do that. So, little video snippets in terms of content for your marketing message that you can do. That's what I love to see about the Super Bowl now. I'll start on Saturday night, Saturday during the day, and I'll start watching Twitter feeds and Facebook posts and Instagram and all these companies that are hashtagging the Super Bowl to try and get it. And then you'll start to see everything is measurable now also, right? So you'll know how many people are watching those videos or how many people are liking things. And those results are posted ongoing. Monday morning, we'll know what the most effective ad in the country was, right? We're gonna know that Monday morning, if not Sunday night. And you'll know the best social media strategy. And so what I do is I look at all those things and I'll go through each of those ads and those campaigns and see what they did. And if there's any little thing that we can glean to tie in for us and our program here to relate back into the community or our alumni base, we will do that. I know from having Ethan Westbrook's play in the game, that's an automatic for us. And it's an automatic for the university. At some point on that screen in front of more than 100 million viewers, there will be West Texas A&M right below his name, which is cool. That is fantastic for the university. And he'll be, I think, the eighth or ninth of our alums to play in that game. Becky Stoddard, where's Becky? So there you go there. Becky made out that we have one of our alums, Wilson Lemieux, is that right? Has produced 2 of the spots that will air during this Sunday's game. That's also pretty cool for the university to be involved in that way, and we should figure out ways to leverage that. We certainly will in athletics, leverage Ethan participating in the game. The other alums that we've had who played the game will all be tied into some of those things that we do. But I think it's important, if you want to be a part of that, whether it's just within the community or a regional pool or a national pool, and you don't have those big ad dollars, figure out the cost-effective strategies that you can use, because everybody can win from the Super Bowl, especially if you're a retail entity and you want to generate that exposure. Let's see, a couple of other notes. The final note was the social media component of the game. The social media component of the event itself. For an individual, for a company, or a nonprofit, doesn't matter. If you tie yourself to that game and you do it in a positive manner. I think there have been some mistakes. I won't mention the companies, but some mistakes in tying in negatively to the Super Bowl. I would never advise any company to tie in negatively to an event like that. This is a big cultural thing, and the negative approach will backfire with a big event like this. And so anytime you're using social media, I think it's always good to remind people you are branding if it comes out from you, you're branding yourself. If you're tied into a big event, tie it in positively. And that those things are available to every company of every size, every organization, to events like this.
Randall, Whalin?
Thank you. Thank you very, very much for allowing us to be here today. We do have a little PowerPoint that will help kind of guide our presentation, and we want to let Judy get that set up and then kind of walk through that. Certainly want to field any questions. I know that after we get a chance to present, then we'll have time to address questions to Clint and Michael as well. We certainly want to say thank you to Dr. Anwar for allowing us to come in. We were here a few months ago in front of a class talking about branding in general, and I think you'll see by the end of today that the Super Bowl, I think we would all agree, has become a brand. And in itself, it's got an association strongly, rooted within our culture. Certainly want to thank WT just for allowing us to come here. We're really humbled to be able to stand before you and just share any aspect of how we engage with sport like pro football and this particular Super Bowl. I enjoy listening to Clint and Michael and just getting to know them a little bit today. And certainly want to say thank you to you for being a part and joining us today. I want to go through a little bit about we're just going to briefly touch on our company. Some of y'all know who we are or something about us, but as I was introduced as Randall Whalin. Judy Papenfus is our marketing strategist, works with me in the marketing department, very intricately involved. We're really blessed to have Judy's talents with us. She's a WT grad. She graduated with her master's in communication. We snatched her up as soon as we could, and so we're really grateful to have her and grateful for WT for producing such outstanding students. The Fairley Group, I'm going to let Judy share with you a little bit about, because she's newest to the company, I'm going to let her share a little bit about some of the clients we handle and why it's relevant to today.
Okay, so I don't know how many of you guys know this. I certainly did not know this while I was still at WT, but the Fairley Group is based out of Amarillo. Our offices, or that building you saw earlier, is on the corner of I-40 in Washington. And some of our clients, as you can see, is Major NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, MLS, Viacom, some entertainment companies, Paramount Pictures. There are so many more. I could have put a bunch of logos on there, but these are just some of our real big and more glamorous clients that get a lot of attention in the media. Personally, one of my favorite clients we just recently signed is the Rolling Stones. And so I know you might be wondering, what does that have to do with, your line of work? And so the Rolling Stones are starting their new tour. I believe it's the
No Filter Tour?
No Filter Tour, yes. And so with each of these concerts that they go to, they have to put up an event. There's a stadium, and there's a lot of risk that's involved. And so we are a risk management company, and so we go in, we help them evaluate that risk. And I know some of you might be wondering, well, what kind of risk? Well, there are some huge speakers hanging on top of the stage. And so sometimes accidents happen, and you have to be prepared for that. And so our company comes in, and we just help them to prepare in the best way possible for that. And so, Randall, do you want to add anything else?
We do get asked that question a lot. Okay, so what do you guys do for the NFL? Well, if you really boil it down to its essence, what we do primarily is, as Judy said in a broader term, we help them manage the risk. Probably the primary function we do or we handle within managing that risk is we negotiate their medical costs down. Because we deal in the world of workers' comp on all of these levels, in the entertainment and the sports world, professional sports world, we basically go in every medical claim. When an injury happens this Super Bowl, one of the first people they call is the Fairley Group. We will manage that claim from the time they're diagnosed with a broken leg, a twisted knee, whatever it may be. We handle that claim from that point all the way through physical therapy. And then, because one thing Alex did, how he got into this, odd enough, he's so innovative. He figured out a long time ago, working with minor league baseball teams, that these players a lot of players would show up injured in the off season so they could collect a check. So we went to these leagues and said, listen, you need to change this. It's costing you too much money. What we need to do is we need to develop a process to manage that claim. So one is, they're really hurt. Secondly, they don't leave till they're well. Well, guess what? All those claims started really tailing off. These people wanted to go home. They wanted to be with their girlfriends or wives, whatever. And so from that started this process of basically learning how to negotiate risks, no matter what those risks were, whether it be medical related or like with the Rolling Stones. You've been to concerts. You look at these concerts anymore. The stages that these concerts are held in is massive, and there's a massive investment in it. One of the cool things about the Rolling Stones is Mick Jagger was involved in every step of the negotiation with our firm. And one of our top consultants out of Minnesota who works full time for us, he was the one that flew to London, met with him, and Judy and I worked on the marketing materials. There's a lot involved from a marketing perspective. Okay, we're here to talk about the Super Bowl phenomenon. And one of the things I'm going to do today is we're going to kind of go back in history because it hasn't always been a phenomenon. A phenomenon by definition just means remarkable. Well, very few things begin remarkable. They become remarkable over time. And so we're going to do a little look back, going back in history. We're going to talk about the very first Super Bowl, okay? Just a few interesting facts. First of all, the inaugural game played in 1967 was between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers, okay? And it wasn't even known as the Super Bowl. Matter of fact, both teams, one of them wasn't even a National Football League team. It was an upstart league called the AFL. So it was the AFL-NFL championship game. And it wasn't until later on, the third time this game was actually played, that it became known as the Super Bowl. Now I'm going to tell you something really kind of odd about this name, Super Bowl. Lamar Hunt, who was the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs at the time, he, in the 60s, the most popular toy in America was called a Super Ball. And it was that little fast bouncing ball you throw up against the wall or on the floor and it would just explode. Well, he just thought that was kind of a cool name. So he went to Pete Rozelle and he said, hey, why don't we call this something? Let's give it a name. And they said, what do you have in mind? And they started with the Pro Bowl, which has kind of got its own little niche now in professional sports. And they said, well, how about this? There's this thing called a Super Bowl. Why don't we just call ours a Super Bowl? That's how sophisticated some of these things happen. It's not $100,000 spent on research. It's some guy sitting across the table from another man says, I got an idea. And so that's how the Super Bowl was formed as a name. And so with the third game of in the line of Super Bowls, it was actually given the title of the Super Bowl. What's funny too, these stats are so ironic because it's 53 years into the game. The inaugural game wasn't decided where they were going to play it until 2 weeks out. So you can see guys sitting around, where do you think we're going to play this thing? Where should we have this game? So obviously they held it in a good place in the Coliseum in Los Angeles, but there was 32,000 empty seats. Okay, can you imagine an empty seat at the Super Bowl today? I don't think so. It's that much of a phenomenon. One of the things I want to point out, if you can look over here on this little ticket, this is an actual ticket. $10. That's what a ticket costs for that AFL-NFL championship game.
Okay, so I'll touch a little bit on the halftime show. So I did not grow up watching the Super Bowl. The first time I saw it was about 8 years ago, and I still didn't quite understand it. So I grew up watching rugby. It's almost the complete opposite of football, and so it took me a while to get into it. But one thing that did not take a while was getting into the halftime show. I mean, all of you guys know, a lot of people just watch the Super Bowl so that they can see the halftime show. And the halftime show is quite a performance. It's very elaborate. I'm sure there's buckets of money that go into it. But if we take a look back into history, the first halftime show featured 2 marching bands, a rocket man, literally a man with a rocket strapped to his back, okay, and 300 pigeons. I don't know if you pay, however much you pay to go see the Super Bowl now, I don't know how impressed you would be with 300 pigeons. There's obviously a lot of extra stuff that will happen once these pigeons fly. So I don't know if people were honored by that or disgusted by it, but that was the entertainment for the first halftime show.
Yeah, quite entertaining. It's just now I'll tell you what's interesting is we did some research on this. There was a man who kind of came onto the scene as related to this game and started throwing out some less traditional ideas as it related to football halftimes. Okay, so some of this was just his brain trust. You know, he kind of came up with these ideas, and they were thought of as revolutionary at the time. You know, so and it wasn't necessarily a complete buy-in. There was a few hard discussions about what they allowed to affect the integrity of the game. One other little side bit is Vince Lombardi, whom the trophy is named after today, went to his team and he told them, just like you're sitting in this room, he basically got right in the middle of them and said, listen, we've got to win this game by 21 points at least, because we've got to prove that NFL is far superior to the AFL. Well, they wound up winning the game by 25 points, but the alliance was born, okay? Even though the game had 32,000 empty seats, there was an alliance that began, and then 3 years later it was consummated with now what we call is the National Football League made up of the AFC and the NFC.
Now, okay, do you guys remember what the cost of that ticket was? $10, okay. So today, the Super Bowl we're gonna watch in a couple days. Here are some of the ticket prices. Your cheapest ticket is $3,626. Your average ticket, $5,682. And the most expensive ticket, Randall asked me to guess how much I thought it was, and I was like, $20,000. You know, thought I was way overshooting it. Well, comes to show I was very much under. And so the most expensive ticket, $1,075,790. Now we did get this information from SeatGeek. We think that they are a valid source.
That's true.
If you're wondering, so you guys can go and check it out afterwards if you'd like. But isn't that incredible how far we've come in terms of ticket prices? And it just shows, once again, what a phenomenon the Super Bowl is.
Yeah, absolutely. Irregardless, tickets are expensive to go to the Super Bowl. Okay, now we're going to transition just a little bit because the last part of our presentation is going to be about 5 trends you can are likely to see during this year's Super Bowl. But I'm going to go back to the company or the ad that changed it all for everyone. A lot of y'all are too young to remember this. Many of you were born afterwards. But in 1984, during that Super Bowl, Apple decided to launch their new Macintosh product during the Super Bowl. Now, back then, they didn't sell 1-minute commercials. They sold 30-second commercials. And I found out talking to Michael a while ago some interesting fact that Apple, as a corporation, wasn't going to pay for that $1 million ad. Okay? So guess who? The owner. You know, Steve Jobs decided, the founder of the company said, we'll pay for that ad. $1 million to run it 2 times. And so we're going to show you that ad. Now, some of you will remember it, some of you won't. But this changed what we now see in the world of the Super Bowl. It changed it forever, this one ad. Hopefully you can hear it.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the Information Purification Directives. We have created, for the first time in all history, a garden of pure ideology, where each worker may bloom, secure from the pests, obeying contradictory thoughts. Our unification of thoughts is more powerful a weapon than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people. One will, one resolve, one cause. Our enemies shall talk themselves to death, and we will bury them with their own confusion. We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
Pretty astounding. I'm telling you, that shocked the world. It woke everyone up. And matter of fact, particularly manufacturers, retailers thought, oh my goodness, has this turned into an opportunity? These guys have set a precedence for how we use this platform. And I will say this, I think this spot had more to do with the Super Bowl becoming a phenomenon than necessarily football itself. Football has certainly grown in popularity. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of, and you know, aside from the commercial itself, many advertisers since then, that spot cost $1 million to place. But a lot of people don't know it also cost $1 million to produce. The director on that spot was a guy named Ridley Scott. And Ridley Scott is a world famous director who did Gladiator and many of the films you guys enjoy that are dramatic films, because that, and the other thing about that spot, a lot of you wouldn't know, is that IBM was considered Big Blue at the time. That was their nickname, Big Blue. And so Big Blue was control of the world, the computer world, the IT world. They were dominant. And so if you notice, everything is a subtle blue. Those people wearing the uniforms, it's blue. The screens are blue. Those are actually IBM monitors set up on the walkway. So they really took the time to put a little punch in against Big Blue. But that's how kind of, I think, innovative they were. The agency that did it was an agency called Chiop Day out of San Francisco. So that leads me into to what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 5 trends to look for during this year's Super Bowl. How many of y'all will actually take time to watch the Super Bowl? Probably not everybody. You know, not everybody has the same interest. My wife won't watch it. She could care less about the Super Bowl. She might come in and watch, like Judy said, the halftime entertainment. She'll ask me when that is, but she's not going to necessarily care about the Super Bowl itself. But these are 5 trends that you can take notice as you're watching through the Super Bowl, all related to advertisers. Humor, overall, you're going to probably see another run at humor, and you're going to see a definite difference in the way females are dressed, and particularly in the world of empowerment, and how those are things, humor and female empowerment are likely to dominate this year's Super Bowl. Trend 1 is, go ahead, Judy, I'll let you share this.
Of course I will talk about it. Okay, so interesting fact, what percentage do you all think of women watch the Super Bowl? If you guys had to guess.
34.
32. I heard something else.
34.
34.
60.
Closer. Whoever said 60. It's a little under 50%. That's the amount of women that watch the Super Bowl. And most of the ads, as people have done their research, most of the ads, only a quarter of them are aimed towards women. Only a quarter of them make women the leading role in the ad. And so in this year's Super Bowl, they're looking to change that. They're obviously noticing that there are a lot more ladies that watch this gig, and so they are going to target a lot more ads towards women. I think Procter & Gamble and Bumble are really going to have a go at it, so just keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, stay tuned to that. Just see, kind of make a note of it, because if we ever come back down, I may even ask you that again. How many of y'all did watch the Super Bowl, and how many of you noticed some of these trends? Second one is less celebrity endorsements. Now this was interesting as we researched this a little bit, because ads in the past, traditionally, many of the ads featured celebrity endorsements, okay? Everything from other sports figures to movie stars, and that is changing. And a lot of it is because research now is revealing that younger audiences, many of you in this room, are just not all that impressed with celebrities. Not when they're talking about a product. Now, I'm going to ask you in a second why you think that is. But one of the things that I think has changed that is because I think the advent of social media and the power that influencers have. Because these influencers now have taken the place of what I would consider celebrity status. And one of the reasons they have power is because everything they say is more authentic to lifestyle. You know, my wife follows a few ladies on, I think it's Instagram and a few of their things, and it's whenever they talk, she'll just come in and talk to me like they're her best friend. They connected with her. They may be talking about baby goods. We had our first grandbaby this year, so we talk a lot about grandbaby stuff. And she's talking about her, you know, her friend that she follows and what all is they talk about on, and she's just talking to this lady she knows, have no idea who she is, but she's an influencer. So that's one thought that I had, and I'm just interested, what do y'all think? Do celebrities influence your purchase of product? No. Anybody else? So it's kind of, it's pretty accurate then, isn't it? Now, let me ask you, Is it because you think that? Is it because you think we just don't see them as authentic because we know they're paid? They're not doing that for free. I think that's part of it too. Okay? I think this is easy to figure out. All the advertisers decided this year, you know what? We're not going to talk politics. And as in the past, weren't necessarily afraid to kind of basically put a slant or gear a little bit toward politics. But that's different. There is so much division and tension within the world of politics today. I don't think any of the advertisers are willing to take that risk, or that's what we're gaining in the research we see. More laughs. Okay, how many of you love a funny commercial? Okay, I think most of us do. Matter of fact, Michael was talking about the research that's going to be done, or the data that's going to be done after the Super Bowl. It is likely, very likely, that the most memorable spot is going to be a funny one, but not always. But humor tends to have a very high recall. But there's one challenge to that. Humor is really hard. And you'll notice on there I put advice. Okay, if any of you are marketing students and you go into a field and you go to work for a company and you have a client that comes to a meeting one day and says, I want a funny commercial. I'm just going to ask you to give them some good advice if you can, if it's appropriate, to simply say, now, do we realize how difficult that is? Because in truth, you're either really great at it or you suck. There's no middle ground with humor. And so just a little piece of advice as you get into your career. Big game debuts. This is the fifth and last trend you can look for. Last year, in 2018, there were only 3 newcomers to the Super Bowl advertising realm. And this year, there's going to be closer to 9 newcomers, which is a little more typical of what the Super Bowl debuts. And so one of the reasons that these, going back to the Apple, the 1984 ad, that was a debut ad. No one had really heard much about Macintosh. There'd been some buzz on the street through some press, but nobody really knew much about Macintosh. But they chose the Super Bowl as a debut for that brand and that product name. And I think the rest of it is history. We know the rest of the story. It's been massively successful. And so those are 5 trends I think that you can look for in the Super Bowl. And if you have any questions, I think Dr. Anwar has our contact information. We'd love to hear from you guys. We love working with students and helping students. Several of you have come to our offices and met with us and asked us questions about our companies and the people we work with. We love doing that for you. It's a service that we offer, and we welcome you. So, thank you very much.
So we have 15 minutes for your question and answers. And these 3 gentlemen are waiting for your questions.
Somebody's got a question.
Sure. So I'm curious about, everybody seems to be talking about the indispensability of social media strategies and so on and so forth. Is there a group who just are not reachable within social media strategies, and is it large enough that anybody's paying attention to them and trying to figure that out?
I think, Michael, you may deal even more in the social media realm than we do.
I was group of 1, so
Yeah, it's,
media profile of 0.
you know, it's, and I can just go from our perspective. When social media started to become a thing, we were still attempting to do traditional advertising with new media to capture the group that you're talking about. But I got to tell you, the last 5 years, maybe a couple of years, we've spent, I think, 0 money on television, newspaper, and the traditional media. We do a lot of stuff in-house. We rely a lot on Facebook, Instagram, and those accounts. I'm certain there are groups out there that, and I'm not one that really responds to that stuff, so I may be in that group, but I still get, the algorithm still points stuff to me, and I get the chance to scroll through. But I think, if you have a limited amount of dollars, then that group, I hate to say it, but probably is, be better, the masses, you gotta go where the masses are in business. I think it's a pretty small group.
I think those numbers have shifted dramatically, as Michael said, in the last 5 years too. I knew when my 80-year-old mother-in-law started doing her banking online, the world had changed. And that means she had gained a certain level of trust. And I think some of what Dr. Johnston's talking about is the fact that we have had to, as a certain generation, we have been slow to gaining trust with this medium, where your younger generation, it's an immediate trust. It's just something you've grown up with. You don't question it. We question it. We question things that you can change on the fly. When someone prints something like this here in the news, that stays, that's permanent. It can never be changed, okay? But something online can literally, I can be reading it and something can change. So there's a level of trust, I think, culturally speaking, to that question. I think we're having to still overcome how to connect with people. It always comes down to the message, always does, and whether or not that message connects to that viewer. Whether they're 85 or 15 or 25, that message has to connect. So from a data, Dr. Anwar knows this, data drives a lot of that. Data puts your message in the right place at the right time in front of the right audience. And some of those tools, social media is just simply a tool. That's exactly what it is. I remember when television came along, everybody thought radio was just gonna die. They thought it was gonna go away. Well, it hasn't. It reinvented itself. And so social media will go through those same transitions because we're still people, we still gravitate to those messages.
I'll add one more thing to that conversation. Everything does evolve, and I think certain things are cyclical. We are now seeing, we still do some direct mail, and we're starting to see more positive results with direct mail, because I think people maybe now are getting they're getting tired of all of the devices, and so something tangible in their hands via mail. We're starting to see better results on our response rates through mail. So that's.
Randall, one comment and question. Comment is the NFL still controls what you can advertise on the Super Bowl, because there was one commercial that was killed on cannabis as medical marijuana. But from a marketing advertising agency standpoint, it looked like the commercial was already developed. So that association or whatever, I mean, are they going to roll that then on other platforms, or they don't just make that and then hope it gets on the Super Bowl? Can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Well, no, that's a good point. A brand as powerful as the NFL does have the final say-so on their #1 event. And so they can't kill spots that they don't deem appropriate for their viewing audience, however they may lay that out. But that production, however it's done, is going to be put on multiple. There's so many more platforms now, and the pie has been sliced so many different ways that you can get it in front of somebody, and the data supports that you can get it in front of the right people. It may take a different level of investment. The viewing audience for the Super Bowl, when we didn't pull up those numbers, it's going to be off the charts. And it's international now. Super Bowl is watched some portion all over the world. So, but to answer your question, that will be put out on multiple other platforms.
To follow up on that, so NFL will have that call over CBS, who has it this year. They have the ultimate call, I guess.
Yeah, and all of that, I'm not technically sure exactly how that's handled. I have heard that before, though. That there have been ads that have been killed that would not be allowed on major broadcasts for one reason or another. Any other questions? Sir.
McBroom, do you have any West Texas alumni playing in the Super Bowl? How does that affect the marketing of the business? Like for WT, does that kind of branch out to other places, or just kind of one of those things that you see on TV? Oh, just West Texas.
In terms of branch out and
Like as getting students to be noticed to come out here to play out here for the West Texas or for athletic department.
Yeah, so it's big for recruits, and we're in the big recruiting cycle right now, and we've had close to 100, maybe a little more, maybe more than that, through on official visits the last couple of weeks, and this coming week will be the final. And in our locker room facility, if you walk down the hall, we just put this in last year, this will tell you how important it is. On the right side of the wall is a new display, buffs in the NFL. So every single football player that has played, or buffs in the pros, played in the NFL or the CFL, there's a deal for every single team in the NFL, and all of our players have played on those teams over the last 40 years, 50 years. So those are all up. And then the other side is buffs in the Super Bowl. And so there's a jersey for every former player that's played in the NFL, and we've already ordered the one for Ethan Westbrook, so we'll go in. And as recruits are coming through now, we're saying Ethan Westbrook, we're going to add Ethan Westbrooks this week, and it's big. I mean, a small percentage goes on to play in the NFL.
I think my question is more, does it increase? Do you notice an increase of possible recruits to come out here?
Yes.
If they notice?
Maybe not an increase in possible recruits, but when they get here and see, it certainly enhances their experience.
And that stuff is word of mouth, I think, too. Not even just in football. We had Marshall Kozowski in the baseball team drafted 2 years ago. And, you know, I think that players, pitchers see that oh, Marshall played in Division II and was taken in the 5th round. This can happen. It opens up possibilities for recruits to see those types of things, especially at the NFL level. Even my post on Twitter yesterday about Ethan Westbrooks, several people said anything's possible Division I or Division II, and I think that does, even on social media, you see those things, and it does open up possibilities for recruits for West Texas A&M. Absolutely.
And I'd be remiss, I mean, I'm certain in some minds of some people, they see that now, and maybe they were on the fence of coming to see us, but now they may. It definitely doesn't hurt.
Right. At the end of the day, it doesn't hurt.
I have a quick question to Michael. Can you talk about, because a lot of things are happening in WT, can you talk about your new stadium after a few months? And
Sure.
what kind of things are associated with that?
Okay, yeah, I could go on and on about that. It's my life at the moment. So, but just let me give just a couple of things. So we are we're about almost halfway through the process of the construction from groundbreaking to when we open in September. It's phenomenal in there, and all of you, if you're students or actually anybody in the community, we are open for tours. And if you would like to take a walk through and kind of see what's going on, just shoot me an email or call the office, and I'll be happy to walk you through. It takes about 30 minutes. But inside that stadium, I think is going to be it will be an experience for football unlike we have seen in this community. And as it's coming together, I couldn't be more excited. Every seat, you're going to feel like you're on top of the field. Students are going to be front and center, but every seat, both east and west, we've got the elevated bleachers that they'll be installed here in 4 months, I think. But you're going to feel like you're on top of the field. And then we've put technology in that just simply isn't possible at other places. The Wi-Fi connectability for students is good. I can't remember the number, but every section will have a Wi-Fi connectivity point. So with your phone, you can watch replays, you can follow stats, you can send texts, you can put, some stadiums that you go to, because there's so many people in that one spot, your phone freezes up. That's not going to happen in Buffalo Stadium. We have 240 yards of ribbon boards lining both sides. Those are those digital ribbon boards, HD, that will tie into basically a huge television screen in the north end zone. Also HD. That scoreboard on the end, the video board, the actual screen itself is 50 feet wide and 36 feet tall. The structure will rise up to about 70 feet. So it will be, and it'll have a big WT on the top of it. So from a branding standpoint, we'll have WT at about the highest point on campus. But you'll have concessions, restrooms all throughout, kiosks, everything, all ticketing is going digital. So as a student, your ticket will be on your phone. You'll get an email out or a notification out like on Tuesday. If you plan on attending the game, click here, and you'll have first option on tickets. And so your ticket will appear. You can put it in your wallet, and when we show up at the game, you'll just show your phone. And whatever students don't claim, those are the tickets that will go on sale to the general public for single game. The students are going to get the first option. Lights, the lights, we just upgraded the lights to HD lights, so 100 candle feet of power in there. So Rick's shaking his head, he's really happy because there won't be any shadows for any of the video cameras or the still cameras. It's going to be lit up and technology rich, unlike anything that this place or this community has experienced. And you're going to feel like you're really a part of something. And what we want is for you to feel like you're part of the team to help us win football games. Yes?
What about parking? You got that figured out?
All figured out.
Do you have any idea where we're gonna park?
Yeah, most people will be assigned to lots, and if you're coming in from off campus, you'll know which lot you'll go to. There's not gonna be a lot of drive around looking for a spot. You'll go to a lot, and we'll have traffic signs directing people. But we have more available parking on campus on game day than we had at Kimball. Now, one of the things that we wanted people to experience campus and walk around because we have a beautiful campus. So, you know, it might be a 400-yard walk, but that's okay. You're walking through pretty campus. Yes.
What about the tailgaters?
Yes. What about?
Nice little location for them.
Yeah,
Designated area.
yeah. So 26th Street between the dining hall and Buff Hall. That's going to be kind of tailgating central. We're working on plans for that. And then the lots that we designated for tailgate will have some areas that will allow alcohol, some that will not allow alcohol. So we want to be able to accommodate everybody through that. But yep, definitely tailgating. All day, come early, stay late.
Well, one quick question I was discussing with Clint. Can you, what kind of suggestion do you have? Because we see you as a role model representing WT on the most visible entity in Amarillo. Do you have any suggestions to the younger generation how to be successful in your area?
As far as getting to where I am, getting involved while you're in college and having the experience when you step foot into the real world. A lot of it can be done in the classroom. You can learn a lot of things, but not if you don't get involved. A lot of things are set up here to get involved, to get real world experience. It's going to be very similar to what you would see in the real world. For myself, I interned for the longest intern of all time, probably 2 years with Jacob Albrocht. He was the sports director that graduated from here. He was the sports director of News Channel 10 at the time. I spent 2 years with Jacob as a junior and as a senior. So when I graduated, I stepped right into a job because I knew the field, and I got involved with Randy Ray and Dr. Lee Browning. And again, News One, you went through it, you've seen it as well. So they give you these opportunities to get involved here that give you very similar feeling to what you would see at News Channel 10 or KAMR Local 4. When you step foot onto those things, you know what you're doing because you've seen it. You may not be getting paid while you're doing it, but you're seeing what it feels like and what it is. And so I would say prepare yourself the best way you can, whether it be if you're working full-time at McDonald's and you can't intern, you don't have that opportunity, that's okay. That's why there's a campus the beautiful facilities that we have all over this campus to get involved and get that real world experience. Even though it's not real world experience, you're still getting that very similar feel and getting the same thing out of it. So I would say prepare yourself as much as you can before you step foot into the field that you're going to.
Same question to our two guests from the group.
Well, I'll start by answering that question and then maybe let Judy speak from her real world experience of how she came in, the experience here, how it came in. One is we were in our marketing department. We, even though I worked in retail, as in marketing, it's a whole different world than B2B, business to business. And so that's who we are. We're a business to business firm. So we don't have to do a lot of things like a B2C company may have to, or an agency may have to, where we do spend massive amounts in advertising and such. We get to be really, really target specific. We go after specific accounts. Judy and I work on everything from digital video productions to print productions to direct sales proposals to PR to corporate relations, which can involve events, anything like that. So her training here in the video side really helped equip her when she came in. We had an opening. I needed someone that had that ability to communicate through video.
I will kind of piggyback off of what Clint said. You know, graduating from WT, there is a lot of resources available to students here, and just FYI, you're paying for it, so make the most of it. Like, go out and take advantage of everything that is provided to you. And so, just from my personal experience, I tried to dig in as much as I could while I was at WT. And then, once I graduated, it's just you're continually bettering yourself. So go get internships, even if you're not going to be paid for it. It's going to be great experience that you get. And just always try to keep learning. I can't tell you guys how much I've learned from YouTube. Just whenever I have a question or whenever I don't know how something works or how to do something, don't just sit there and feel sorry for yourself because you don't know. Like, go and figure it out, and that will help you significantly. But, again, WT is a great university. There's so much available to you. I was here for 5 years. I really wanted to go climb that rock wall, and I never did. And I could have if I wanted to, but I never did. And now I'm gonna sock myself in the face because of it. But anyway, just make the most of what's provided to you here, and it'll pay off in the long run.
So we are almost running out of time, but a couple of things I would like to mention. So more than 100 million plus people will be watching on Sunday. And piggybacking on Mr. Whalin's comment, my wife bought a Macintosh in 1987, and we have it next to our Big Mac. And I look at it every day. You need to know where you came from. And we have to be thankful to Steve Jobs. I mean, this is what we have, and so these guys are the real experts, all four of them. And it's important that we have more of these kind of sessions. But it was a great event. Thank you so much. And we hope that you consider coming back.
May I add one thing?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna just touch on what they just said. If anybody in this room is interested in sports marketing and you will be here next year, I have 2 positions available, internships that also provide scholarship funding. If you're interested in sports marketing and will be here next year, please contact me. We'll sit down and we'll talk about kind of what we're looking for. You could help us. If that's a field you are interested in, please let me know.
Thank you so much.